Welcome to SVG-TV News for Tuesday, May 17th, 2016. I am Jennifer Richardson with the details. Representative of the Pan American Health Organization PAHO and World Health Organization WHO for Barbados and the Eastern Caribbean, Dr. Godfrey Shurub, is encouraging ministers of health and senior health officials from member states to be unified in their goals. Dr. Shurub, who was speaking on Monday at the opening of PAHO WHO Health Ministers meeting, said having focused common goals ensures that the issues affecting member states would be more speedily addressed. The meeting, which took place at the Blue Lagoon Hotel, is ahead of preparations for participation at the 69th World Health Assembly in Geneva, Switzerland, from May 23rd to the 28th, 2016. The PAHO WHO representative for Barbados and the Eastern Caribbean also told the gathering that health is not just about establishing policies, but also ensuring that healthcare is a reality for all.
Well, we will be discussing the transition between the MDGs to the SDGs, and of course in there, health is one of the main pillars of the SDGs, but also issues like climate change and issues related to poverty. We can have a better show of force and strength when it comes to the deliberations of the governing bodies of both WHO and PAHO. I'm pleased that since this process has started, many of the comments I get from the various ministers is that this has been good and this has helped them in the deliberations during the World Health Assembly and the Directing Council.
This country's Minister of Health and the Environment, Luke Brown, also reinforced the need for more cooperation among health officials. He also emphasized the need for healthcare to be more pragmatic and not ad hoc.
It goes beyond simple notions of functional cooperation. Functional cooperation, in my view, applies to groups of nations, but consistent with a pragmatic and pro-integration frame of mind, I regard all these islands to be a part of an integrated whole. We know that a house divided against itself cannot stand, and by extension a Caribbean region divided against itself cannot stand. And I think that history bears us out on that, because I think it's only through organizing effectively on the local level that we will be able to march forward and gain considerable ground in all the respective issues. This is clearly a busy time for health, and it is time for us to be at the top of our game so that we could gain advantages for our respective countries.
Do you know where your salt is coming from? This was the question raised by Pan American Health Organization advisor on non-communicable diseases, Dr. Tomo Kanda, as the Ministry of Health hosted a workshop today at the French's House, geared toward reducing the public's intake of salt under the theme Smart Food Choices. Given opening remarks was Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Health, Louis Deschamps, who pointed out that hypertension is a global issue, which is caused by excessive salt, with heart disease a known risk factor. Deschamps added that heart disease is the second leading cause of deaths between 2009 and 2013 in SVG, and as a result, his ministry is working in collaboration with PAHO as they launch a project aimed at sensitizing the public on issues relating to salt intake.
The St. Vincent and the Grenadines Salt Smart Coalition in the Ministry of Health, Wellness and the Environment has embarked on an education drive that is designed to empower mothers and other interested persons with the knowledge and skills needed to choose food and to cook with less salt in a bid to protect themselves and their families from developing hypertension and other non-communicable diseases. At the end of this workshop, ladies and gentlemen, it is hoped that you would understand why too much salt is bad for your health and how to use less salt during cooking, as reducing salt during cooking is the biggest challenge and is directly linked to taste.
WHO PAHO Advisor on Non-Communicable Diseases and Mental Health, Dr. Tomo Kanda, congratulated St. Vincent and the Grenadines on the implementation of a Healthy Island and Healthy Village project and noted that targeting mothers with children would have a positive impact on their families. Dr. Kanda added that PAHO is working with the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines on a legal framework which would go further in ensuring the reduction of unsafe foods.
Your country target mothers with small children, making sure the mother will choose the right food, low salt food, and then cook healthy way. What the government can do, the Ministry of Health and also other relevant ministries, they are working on to establish legal frameworks, how policy level, regulation level can control bad food is not coming into your country, and making sure the government can set up healthy environment. This is a legal framework which PAHO and the Ministry of Health government are working on this. How we can standardize food, making sure all the food has appropriate food labeling, trading issue, price control. We want to eat healthy food. However, if price is high, it's impossible. These are the things PAHO and the Ministry of Health, we are working on this.
Meanwhile, Chief Nutritionist in the Ministry of Health, Andrea Robin, thanked PAHO and the Health Caribbean Coalition for their continued support. She encouraged participants of the workshop to utilize the knowledge gained for their benefit.
When you are in your home, HCC is not with you. When you're in your home, PAHO is not with you. The information that you take, you are the one who eventually makes the decision whether or not to use it. So I am here today to encourage persons not just to hear, not just to write notes, not just to say, oh, we had a nice time here today, but to beg you please to go home and to implement. It is not easy. Taste is a very strong determinant of what we eat. We say we like our belly full in St. Vincent and everybody wants tasty food. Dr. Tomo mentioned the stepwise process in Japan of reducing stepwise, reducing intake. We can try that. We can also try it at the home level by reducing the salt intake.
Andy McMillan of Arnisvale took home the coveted title of Fisherman of the Year as the curtains came down on the activities for this country's 41st Fisherman's Day celebrations on Monday, May 16th. The month-long celebration hosted by the Fisheries Department was about celebrating the contributions fisher folks make toward SVG's development. This year's Fisherman's Day saw the participation of 175 competitors with an overall haul of 7,507 pounds of fish, an increase from last year's 3,527 pounds, with Andy McMillan contributing 710 pounds, which was the heaviest catch. Speaking at the prize-giving ceremony at the Calico Playing Field, Chief Fisheries Officer Jennifer Cruikshank-Howard stated that her ministry's commitment to the fishing industry. She said they have been working closely with all stakeholders to ensure the protection of the livelihoods of fisherfolk and called for more work to be done in the sector to increase productivity. She also used the opportunity to explain some of the measures her department have taken to boost fisherfolk capacity here.
The fishing industry is a productive sector and we need to work harder to produce more. Earlier this month, the 5th and 6th, 2 mega fish aggregating devices were deployed in our waters as a fishing tool to assist the fishermen in the harvesting of fish, such as the dolphins, tunas, marlins, and kingfish. 2 refrigerated trucks to transport these fish in proper hygienic condition, as required by international standards, were also obtained. As part of a current project funded by the Japan International Cooperation Agency, we want to thank the people of Japan for their kind assistance.
Also making remarks was Minister of Fisheries Saboto Caesar, who pointed out that Fisherman's Day is a moment to celebrate as SVG is blessed with extensive seascape. Caesar added that his government is committed to the growth and development of the fishery sector and challenged all stakeholders to create events on a more regular basis on the same scope and size of Fisherman's Day.
very important question for you today, and also for the Ministry of Fisheries, is this. Why do we have to wait until Fisherman's Day alone to have an activity of this size and this importance? It is prime time for the private sector to partner with the government and spread this idea throughout the length and breadth of this country. If it can be done in Oistins, in Barbados, almost every night, why can't we have a regular fish night, different locations right here in our country?
Caesar told the gathering there are significant opportunities in the sector for investment and considered fisherfolk as important partners as his government pushes forward with their vision to reduce hunger and undernourishment in SVG.
Throughout the entire hemisphere is being recognized for its work in reducing hunger and undernourishment. In fact, St. Vincent and the Grenadines is the only English-speaking nation in the world where both government and opposition came together and decided to create a parliamentary platform to zero hunger. No woman, man or child should go to bed hungry. And the fisher folk of this country will be playing a very critical role as we advance this nation towards 2020 and our policy initiative to reduce hunger and undernourishment.
Members of the local media were given a tour of a number of developmental projects on the Grenadine island of Canouan on Friday, 13th May, accompanied by government officials. Since 1990, developers have been on Canouan, transforming the 3.5 by 1.5 mile island into a secluded luxury playground for the affluent. But as developmental work continues on a state-of-the-art marina where some $160 million have been invested, the importance of care for the environment continues to be the watchword. This was emphasized by General Manager of Glossy Bay Construction, Roberto Tudisco.
To basically destroy everything, the natural landscaping will remain as it is, especially to Glossy. What we are trying to do is to work in respect of the environment. So whatever we are doing as follow specs, and we are trying to deliver a limited impact products of the marina for the island of Canouan and in general for the country of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. For the rest, we try to use natural material. We are basically use local stone, marble, you will see around wood, and for the people that know Ms. Gorak, which is the CEO of this company, myself and all my colleagues, everybody knows that we are trying to use natural materials. So we don't want to do something plastic, but we want to do something that it's so sexy that the people they want to return.
The care for the environment was also underscored by Marine Construction Project Manager Chris Wadikor, who outlined that the top-class marina facility, which will be finished by December of this year, will meet international standards.
The environment wherever we can. In terms of how we're going about the day-to-day, all our employees, all our managers are all working with best environmental practices established in Europe and the United States. So we try to impart that to everybody that we're working with, the reason why we're doing this. This is shortcuts, and it's just those extra levels of thought and care into what you're doing, where we've had pumping operations, we've screened with hay bales, geotextile to take silts out of the water column when we're putting water back out into the ocean. So at every stage we're thinking about the smallest things that are going to have that build up and the cascade effect. Another side of that is when we do the bow moorings and we put our landfall and marker buoys out for the entrance channel, everything's going to be done with coral safe anchors, so a minimal impact, minimal drive pattern and zero impact on the environment essentially. So it's one thing I think has been pushed into bigger Ks now. but it's something that we've led the charge with here, and we've already brought to the Maritime Authority for their approval.
Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of National Security, Godfrey Pompey, says it is also a mandate of his government to ensure that the environment is protected.
That has responsibility as our ministry is that they must undertake an environmental impact assessment, right? And that study is ongoing.
Yes.
And a conclusion must be provided to the minister, as is the Prime Minister. So it's a basic requirement of the project.
Last Sunday's Hit Talk program looked at the topic of the youth and their exposure to violence, rebellion and promiscuity, with some Caribbean islands beginning to have recordings and music videos that promote such behavior or encourage it censored. The question raised was if SVG should take action to stem such behavior. President of the National Omnibus Association, Anthony Bacchus, is of the view that the way children are brought up help to influence certain choices they make. He says if children are brought up in the church, the chances of them being influenced by this perverted music will be less, and that modernization has resulted in significant changes in the way society functions and the way people behave.
I feel that teaching starts at home first. Now, there is a difference of how we bring up our children. I remember when I was coming up, my parents used to, make sure that we go to Sunday school, church, and put God first in everything. These days, as the younger generation coming up, it seems like a lot of parents are not putting God first in their lives. So it leaves things open for them to adapt to other things. If we remember back in our days when we were growing up, the music wasn't that aggressive and violent. And generations have changed. And people that's making these music are mostly young people in this generation now. So it has a great impact on the younger people.
Bacchus says laws must be put in place and reinforced so that omnibus operators adhere to the censorship of some of the material they play, as it should not just be about satisfying some passengers, but all.
Again, from my experience driving a bus, the younger generation, they like to hear this type of music that's being promoted today.
Andrew French, the manager of Cashways, which is located at Shaps, has been arrested and charged for having in his possession 10 rounds of .38 ammunition at Sharpsdale on May 12, 2016, without the relevant license. French appeared at the Serious Offences Court this morning and maintained his innocence. Court prosecutor Adolphus Delpesh had no objection to his bail, which was allowed in the sum of $9,000 with one surety. He was also ordered to report to the Central Police Station every Friday between 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. June 23, 2016 is the date set for trial. In other court news, Gregory Doughton, a 33-year-old national of Barbados, was yesterday busted by the police after he attempted to smuggle 20 pounds of marijuana through the E.T. Joshua Airport. Reports are that Doughton came to St. Vincent from Barbados via Liat on Sunday the 15th May and indicated to the immigration officer that he came for a 7-day vacation. Doughton subsequently returned to the airport the following day with a blue bag in his possession and checked in same at the Liat desk. Police arrived at the airport having received certain information and requested to search him and the bag he had checked in. During the search, one taped package was found and opened in his presence, which showed what appeared to be marijuana. Doughton was immediately escorted to the narcotics base at Arnisvale, where further search was conducted in the bag, which led to the discovery of an additional 13 packages and his arrest. Doughton was escorted this morning to the Serious Offences Court to answer to 3 separate drug charges, which he pleaded guilty. The charges include possession of marijuana with intent to supply to another, possession of the drug for the purpose of trafficking, and for the purpose of exportation. He was ordered to pay $25,000 forthwith for possession of the drug, failing which he faces a 9-month jail term. For the drug trafficking charge, a 1-year sentence was handed down and another 9 months jail sentence for attempting to export same, which will run concurrently. A strong show of support was evident at the funeral of slain police officer Giovanni Charles, who was killed on May 2nd, 2016, while on duty at a school fair. As we hear in this report by Sharon Garway, the young officer received high praises for his commitment to the job of protecting and serving.
Though he was just 25 years old, Officer Giovanni Charles, from all reports, lived a full life, which was cut short while on duty. At his funeral service on Saturday, May 14th, at the New Testament Church in Kingston Park, the officer, who was a member of the Rapid Response Unit, was spoken of as a person who motivated himself and others to strive for better. Many of his colleagues fought back tears as they grieved over the loss of their former workmate. Known for his love for God and his fellow man, Officer Charles was an only child of his parents, Susan and Dougie, and often spoke of his desire to purchase a home for his mother. Commissioner of Police Michael Charles had high commendations for Charles's dedication to his work.
We come together today to mourn the loss of a brave police officer, to share the grief we feel, and in that sharing, to find the strength to bear our sorrows and the courage to recall all the positive attributes of Police Constable Giovanni Charles.
Prime Minister and Minister of National Security Dr. Ralph Gonsalves praised Charles for leading a positive life.
Giovanni Charles took responsibility for his own self and his own development with the help of friends and the community. There are others who have those opportunities but decide that no, they want a different kind of a life.
In his eulogy, Uncle David Charles described his nephew as a principled person with high values.
Giovanni wanting to be so prim and proper would always ask questions when he's doing this right. You know, I had to make a report on someone, so Uncle, do you think this was the right way I went about it? That was it. Always want to be so accurate about what he's doing.
Pastor at the New Testament Church, Chesley Ferdinand, encouraged the congregation to be strong in faith despite the challenges of the world.
Don't lose heart. Don't give up. Don't give in. Don't surrender. Because Jesus, like he promised, look, just like he said, in most certain terms, he is going to come.
Sharon Garraway, SVG Television News.